Well, a very good evening to you. Thanks for clicking onto this video blog this evening. It's taking a quick look at what we've seen so far in the pattern, where we're at now, and of course where we go from here. Many of you, of course, are ruling out this winter, basically based on what we're seeing at the moment, the lack of any kind of real substantial cold and snow, and as well as that, going by the models. And of course, the models really are quite have been quite poor in their understanding of this very, very active pattern. It's a very active pattern across the hemisphere. We've got a strongly positive Arctic oscillation, and of course that's providing a very powerful polar vortex over the Arctic, and we have got a hell of a lot of cold up there to tap into. That is my concern. The problem is that we have seen a very warm November and December, and even during the month of October as well. It's been very mild, and my biggest concern is that given what we've seen, the strongly positive indices does not mean that it's going to remain that way for the rest of the winter. I'm tired of people ruling out this winter when basically they've not really given it a chance. We are only in December, folks, and I do think if you have any understanding of the pattern of weather and what the atmosphere can do, I think you would be slower to say that this winter is basically going to remain stormy and warm. Really, it hasn't been a particularly mild period over the month of December. We have seen at least three incidences, in fact, over the northern part of the UK, where we've seen a decent cold spell accompanied by snow. And I do think, folks, we need to be careful here that, given the fact that we are, well, certainly of my understanding, the past 20 to 30 years we've seen a warm Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation, and that has tied in quite well. The Pacific did flip a while back, and we are seeing an increase in La Niñas, obviously a colder equatorial Pacific, and that of course drives a different type of weather pattern compared to its brother El Nino. But we are seeing many changes in the broader, bigger, longer scale time frame. For example, we're seeing a lower than normal solar sunspot cycle. What does that mean? Well, it tends to portray a colder upper level environment, and as well as that, temperatures on Earth tend to be somewhat cooler, given the fact that, in layman's terms, the sun is cooler. It releases less energy. We have seen an increase in sunspot activity. We are reaching that solar maximum, so to speak, but that solar maximum is a lot lower than what we've seen over many years. And of course, many very low solar sunspot cycles in the past have correlated well with colder periods on Earth, including, of course, the Dalton and Maunder minimum. Those were, of course, periods where the sun was extremely quiet, and as a consequence, we've seen the little ice age. That solar sunspot cycle, lower than normal, combined with a very active volcanic activity across Iceland, and I continue to believe that that will portray blocking in the latter part of this winter. Now, if we have that blocking in the latter part of this winter, combined with months of building Arctic air over the north, folks, we are in for a heck of a cold spell later on this winter, and I do believe it will take place. Why are we seeing such stormy conditions across the UK, Ireland, and across Europe? Well, folks, I do believe because of the cooling of the Arctic, the Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation to slightly below normal for the first time in about 20 to 30 years, in fact. And I think, of course, we've got colder 25,000 foot temperatures compared to normal. We've got a very positive Arctic oscillation and NAO. That, of course, supports a very powerfully cold air mass in the upper levels of the atmosphere. What my concern is that we are seeing warming of the stratosphere over the Arctic, over Asia. Now, you say to yourself, well, we're not seeing any changes take place. Well, we are seeing that trough over, the North Atlantic. What that's doing is, folks, it's actually allowing these Atlantic systems to tap into that air mass. It's going to produce colder weather tomorrow into Friday. Yes, the milder weather will arrive later on into the weekend, but if we get a major, large-scale warming of the stratosphere over the Arctic region, all that Arctic air has to go somewhere. Where will it go? Well, it will go to the middle latitudes, basically in our part of the world, as well as North America as well. 1984, 1985, we've seen a very mild December of 84 across the United States. Then, following that in January, we've seen a flip to an Arctic oscillation, a negative North Atlantic oscillation and Arctic oscillation. We've seen one of the most strongest Arctic outbreaks on record in the United States following a warm period. Many great British winters have been followed severe cold and snow that was basically preceded by mild autumns, wet autumns, and that is my major concern, folks. We are seeing a time of climatic hardship here as the earth cools down, and therefore we will see an increase in wilder, stormy action, because of course cold and warm do not mix. And I do think that this front part of the winter will of course lead a lot of people into thinking we're not going to see much winter. But if you're reading the pattern, if you're reading the fact that we could get just as much of a flip to a negative as we are seeing positive at the moment, folks, we are in for one hell of a latter part of this winter here across the UK as well as the United States. Just a few thoughts before bedtime. Hope you're having a great evening, folks, and you're hunkering down from that windy weather outside this evening. Have a good one. Bye for now.